Welcome to I Do This for a Living, a show that questions everything about work culture and asks how we can spend as much time and energy on the things that matter as we do on the things that pay. Sometimes the things that matter pay, and we'll talk about that too. I'm your host, Serenity Bohan. I started this podcast so I could have work I love. Today's guest is, she also has a story about work choices. I'm anxious to get into it, but we have to somehow tell the people who you are. So I'm going to start with your name, Carrie Gaines. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
I am very excited to have you too, which leads very well to my first question, which is going to be the first way we're going to kind of get to know you. So 1 month before I launched this podcast, you and I were having lunch with our friend Kelsey, and as we're getting ready to order, we had our menus, and I said, okay, as soon as we order, I want to hear how you like your new job, because I don't know, we don't see each other a lot, so I don't know how recent the transition was, but for me, it was a recent transition that you had made. And you said, that will not be a problem. I love it. And then after we ordered, you started getting into the story, and I was fascinated, as I tend to be when I'm talking to you. And I said, will you be on my podcast? And you said, no. So my first question for you, Carrie, is why did you change your mind?
Well, I think that that you and I both feel drastically differently about work, right? And I thought, oh, there's no way she wants my perspective on this because I don't always believe the same things that you do about work. So I thought that, I'm like, well, I mean, somebody who really likes work may not be, you know, a great podcast person. So,
That you believe me that that's exactly what I want is like different
yeah,
perspectives.
if I didn't believe
So
you, I wouldn't have been here.
good. I'm so excited about this because now I will say, unfortunately for my work experience in life, most of the people I've interviewed have liked their jobs. And so I really need to get some more people who have some stories more like mine. But I love, you have so much good perspective. I can't wait to get into it. You're also the first person I've had on the show who has a shared work moment with me. We worked together in the
Right.
same department for 3 years, 6 years ago. And I hope we're going to talk about that workplace a little bit, because there's a lot of positive things about the work culture from there that you and I both agree
Yeah.
on.
Yes.
But one thing that I will say is when I joined that department, you were in a place of leadership. So really that positive work culture that I experienced there was partly you setting the tone. I mean, you were a big part of that, setting that tone. So that's another reason that I really admire you and I'm excited about this conversation. We're going to start with backstory for you
Sure.
and try and get to know how you became the Carrie Gaines that we know today. So what was your early understanding of work and jobs?
Sure. Sure. So maybe I have a little bit of a unique perspective from an early understanding of work and jobs because my father, and in fact, most of the men in my family, and more of the men worked than the women in my family, um, had a very unique job. He was a towboat captain, as was his dad, as was his brother, as was his cousins. So our idea of work was a little bit differently because our father actually worked away from home for, 30 days at a time and was home for 30 days at a time. So maybe have a little bit of a skewed perspective on that because work didn't really come home to our home. So when my father was off work, he was off work for 30 days at a time.
Wow.
So work was a little different. And so was my family, my grandpa, my uncle, my great uncles, that type of thing. So work wasn't work was something that happened outside. I mean, aside from, everybody grew up working in their homes and gardens and doing all that kind of stuff. But as far as employment as work, it was something that happened somewhere else.
So do you think it gave you a really compartmentalized view? Like
No,
did you think to yourself, I'm going to do that someday? I will work, but it'll be this other.
no, I never thought that at all. But I didn't view work as something that interfered with our life, I guess.
Right. Right. Okay. Very good point.
Uh,
Also, let's set the geographic stage. Did your father always work on the Mississippi?
Mississippi, Missouri, and Ohio, and Illinois
Oh,
mostly.
oh, all over.
Yeah,
Okay.
those
Not
rivers.
just the Mississippi River.
Yeah,
Okay, okay. 'Cause I was trying to place, like, this Mark Twain image in people's minds, you know?
sure, sure.
The Okay,
Primarily the Mississippi, so yeah.
so how about you personally? What were your first like, do you have a first memory of what you wanna be when you grow up? Being asked that question?
Sure, sure. I mean, like everyone, I wanted to be a cowboy at first, right? I mean, obviously, who doesn't wanna
Like
be a
everyone, she says.
a cowboy or a cowgirl, obviously, right? I was a horse girl for sure. So initially, that's what I thought I wanted, and then as I got older and learned more about my skills and just what I was good at, I thought, "Oh, I should be a lawyer." And then I was in school for about a minute and a half, and I'm like, "No, I should not be," because I didn't enjoy school that much, and,
Okay.
so, now it probably is maybe a little clearer to you why I work so long in compliance. Rules, just
Yeah, I can't
what's
wait
the right thing.
to get into that and really understand you and how that fits. So starting with the lawyer thing, you say when you learned your strengths or your skills, you were thinking lawyer. What were they? What were the kinds of things about you that made you think lawyer?
I think that I'm pretty good at taking in a lot of information at one time and synthesizing it into something that's a usable, uh, argument, for lack of a better term. Maybe I was a little argumentative when I was younger, probably still am, some people would say, but, yeah, I mean, I just felt like I could see what people were saying and wanted or needed and could sometimes maybe pick that apart a little bit.
How early did you see that in yourself? That's kind of amazing.
Probably in high school.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Did you do debate team or anything like that? That
we didn't really have one at our school, but I
yeah.
spent plenty of time debating people.
Excellent. Okay.
Argumentative,
So
piece,
then when you say you got to school and changed your mind about you mean
Mhm,
college?
mhm, yeah.
What did you not what was the process there? What did you not like?
I did not enjoy college at all the first time that I went,
The
if
first
that
time that you went.
right. So I actually quit school and worked before I went back and finished.
What did you do when you quit?
I worked at, it was small town, so I worked at Walmart, Casey's, places like that, big box stores, and then I got a job with, an anti-poverty, organization. I think now they're called Community Action Partnerships, and
Yes.
so I started in a lower level position there and worked and learned about grants compliance and management and program management, and then made a transition. There was an opportunity at, you know, ATSU, and so that's how I got over there was through that grants management skills that I developed.
That was in the grants department?
Mhm.
Okay, okay. So you're like the 3rd person who has told me kinda you discovered what you liked to do by freaking doing it. And it's making me have thoughts about school and academia because it's just I think that's the best way. It's definitely a very good way to figure out what you like to do is doing it.
After I had worked some and decided to go back to college because I knew that there were gonna be opportunities that would be denied to me without,
Yeah.
degrees, obviously, um, school was very easy. Like, work taught
Really?
me how to do school, like, I mean, I don't wanna say that it was very easy, but I didn't have the same challenges that I'd had as a young student as I did as someone who had been in the working world for a while, you
Are
know?
you willing to tell us how old you were when you went back to undergrad?
I'd have to think about it for a minute. I was in my 30s, I'm sure.
You were in your 30s.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. So do you think age had something to do with it? Was it just the goal, the end goal? Like you knew what you wanted to
Yeah, I
accomplish
knew
with your
what I
degree?
wanted to accomplish. I knew, how long I could afford for it to take me to accomplish that, so that was a big motivator. And then, just being able to manage myself better because of the things that I learned in my professional roles. So,
Did you,
manage my time.
get the job first while you were still going to school? Okay. Did you
I got the job and then I went back to school. I
okay.
I got the job in the sponsor programs department and loved the work, loved the people, and realized that if I wanted to make it to any next level, I was gonna need that degree to go with it. And so I did.
Okay, cool. I that was specifically one of my next questions
Yeah.
is, so I was gonna say, when did you get on the track you were slaying when I met you? Because when I met you in this so we'll describe sponsored programs is it too simplified to call it the grants management department?
I think it's the
Uh,
grant seeking and managing department for the
okay,
university.
grant seeking and management for a large medical university that has several colleges of health professions under it. And when I joined the team, it was on the grant writing side, pre award, and Carrie was leading the post award department. In fact, one of my questions for you is, did you ever hate us for what we promised? So we would write the grants and say, we're going to do this and we're going to evaluate it and prove this.
Well,
And
I
you
think
had
that
to say, we did it.
yeah, I think that they're in the grants pre-award team, a lot of what they did was, how did I say it? I think I said it very diplomatically one time. I thought they did a good job of towing the line of being ambitious but achievable.
Good.
And so I always felt like we were unless we were stretching a little bit, there probably wasn't a need for the gap funding, right? For grant funding to fund the gap between where we were in a certain program or where we wanted to be. So I always felt like everything was a little bit aspirational but achievable, and I thought we had excellent leaders on the pre-award side and still do, and that they would reach out and they're like, "Just how uncomfortable is this gonna make you if we put this in?" So they were very good at recognizing when something was going to be a stretch and just how big of a stretch is it. So we knew what type of resources to put behind it from a management perspective. So
Did you get looped in as a matter of course or because they were that always like that was part of it? Looping
Yeah, I feel
post award?
I definitely. I mean, maybe some of the more traditional ones or ones that we had done often or continuation fundings or whatever, maybe less so there. But yeah, I would say that there was always, a heads up, and definitely if something seemed like it was going to be, just how big of a stretch is it? So,
Did you
w-
ever do the were they what did we call them? Funding opportunity summaries?
yeah, I thought
Did you
everybody
ever
should
do
do one.
those or was that a totally pre-award thing?
I mean, it was primarily housed in pre-award, but yes, I did 1 or 2. I wasn't spectacular at them, but doing them makes you have a better appreciation for them and an understanding of how to communicate what's in them. Because I felt like those were, such a best practice,
Me too.
and if you knew how to read it, you knew how to talk to people about what the real chances were, so, of
Yeah.
securing, extramural funding.
Funding opportunity summary is one of the things I'm most proud of having learned in that job. It's where we would examine a grant that's out there against basically a program at ATSU or maybe not even one that was developed. And we would, as you said, something you discovered you were good at, taking lots of information and distilling it. That's what it was. The grant um, request would be 80 pages or something, and we would read through it and sum it up. And a page to 2 pages of for university leadership. Here's what the grant is. Here's our chances. Here's how well it does or doesn't align with what we're doing or what we can do. And
You could
so
spend 3 podcast episodes talking about how brilliant the former and current leadership of the sponsored programs department was because they knew their stuff and, they were a high functioning team and nothing but good things to say about that role.
that's exactly where I was going next. Is what worked for you there? What did
Mhm.
you like about that department?
Well, first of all, it was work worth doing, right? The
Yeah.
work mattered in that we were creating opportunities at the university for our students, for our researchers. We were helping them to do the good work that the university does. So I always felt like that was work worth doing. So I always think that's important. Um, they were I mean, every member on the team showed up and did their job every day. I mean, not everyone has that experience, and when I was thinking about how positively I feel about work compared to other people, I'm like, well, not everyone has that experience
True.
of showing up with high performing, high functioning, qualified people who are also wanting to do their job. And I think that matters, and I think that speaks a lot to their team culture that they still have. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah.
That's what I say. It's one of the on with large with a large lead, it's one of the most professional and kindest or supportive work environments that I've experienced. And I mean it could be studied. I think it could be
They are a best practice model. I mean,
yeah,
it the way they, manage people, took care of people, managed work, were accountable for work. I think about, I know we're gonna talk a little bit about the pivot that I made away from grants compliance work to a different type of work, and I don't think that it would have been possible for me if I hadn't been working at that team, because when I got the opportunity that I did to learn about, HR-related investigations, they were fully supportive. Right? It was a position within the institution, kind of like a team membership that you could belong, not team membership, I'm making it sound weird. It basically, there's, a pool of trained investigators and hearing panel
right.
members and advisors at the university, and when I got the opportunity to join that pool, the sponsor program's leadership was supportive of it. When there was a chance to participate in the activities of that pool, whether it was, evaluating a complaint or they were completely and totally supportive of that. So I think that's a side effect of being on a high functioning team, is that you do have more opportunity to try things or to learn things, because there's just more coverage for the workload and the workload distribution. And when you work with a bunch of high achievers, that's just how they are. So
That's really cool. I just spoke to my sister Charity, and she was in a workplace that took them through a work genius program where you learn your working
okay.
genius, and it led her to discover she was possibly not in the right job, and she ended it kind of and I just applauded that work culture that they taught you a thing. They took you through a program that made you end up saying, "Yeah, I'm not in the right place." That is really great work culture, building your people, no matter what that means for you.
Right.
It was an extremely supportive and professional. I and extremely high functioning. I absolutely agree with you on that. Type A, all across the board. Um, I find that I think I don't know how I would test, but I think I appear type A, but I'm not sure I am type A. So when I
Gotcha.
was actually in that environment, my discomfort level was a little high
Sure.
because I was no longer rising above.
Oh,
I
yeah, yeah,
was
yeah.
climbing. I'm like, okay, I gotta catch up.
I think
I
it's super interesting how many times in a week where, maybe you get, feedback on something that you've done and it's positive or whatever, that in my current role, and I won't say anybody's names, but I'll say initials that you'll recognize. And, I got feedback on something a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, "Learned it from JBC." Learned it from
yes,
the best, or whatever. It's one of those things where I look at many of my successes in my current role, and I can legitimately point to people who taught me how to do it that are still at the institution that I work at. And it's that highly transferable nature of a highly collaborative environment. Like, if you're working in a high functioning, high collaborative environment, you're gonna take things with you
yeah,
that you can use in other areas, or if you pivot like I did.
yeah.
So,
It's actually something they told me in the interview process. You're going to be able to excel in a department like this anywhere else in the
yeah.
country if you after working here, and I think that's true.
Okay.
Um, one thing about the kind aspect of that environment, feisty but kind, it's just
Snickety.
good people. They were good people. My direct supervisor at the time, so they were kind of into personality tests, which I want to ask you a little bit about too. And we did a lot of them. And the Myers-Briggs, which is the 4 letters, my direct supervisor and I had no letter in common, not one. We had the opposite letter from each other in each of the areas. And yet you wouldn't you couldn't have been able to tell that from the outside. The way she supported me, the way she appreciated me.
Mhm.
I'm like, this doesn't make sense. We should clash. We should rub each other wrong with those letters being opposite in every way. But it's not the way it happened because of the way we treated each other, I guess.
I happen to believe, and it doesn't reflect the beliefs of anybody else, I don't wanna put words in anybody else's mouth, that, when so you think about the top leaders of that department, right? People who have moved on. I always felt like when I was working on those teams that there was enough work to go around and there was enough success to go around. And I
Oh,
think
that's
that,
beautiful.
when people on the team had success, people were legitimately and genuinely happy for them. If you secured the grant, you got the shout out. If you got this thing done, you got the shout. I mean, you got credit for the work that you did. And I felt like that our work was super competitive, but all of that competition was driven towards the external product. And within the team, I always felt like as long as there's enough work and enough success to go around, kind of you want those people who are opposite you on on the Myers-Briggs, because they're going to approach the problems differently. They're
Yeah.
going to um, one of my colleagues that I worked with the most, because of the nature of our roles, we had absolutely nothing in common about how we would approach a problem other than we knew we were going to approach it together. Right. And it's kind of like if I'm approaching it from this side and they were approaching it from the other side, it couldn't get away from us. Right. We knew that we were going to be able to solve whatever the
Like
issue was.
velociraptors.
Basically, grants, compliance, velociraptors. But just finding those solutions. And like I said, I think that when you're on a high functioning team and there's enough work and success to go around, you don't find yourself in as much conflict.
Yeah, that's a good point. Do you so as I said, we did Myers-Briggs there. We had this document where we all said our Myers-Briggs and our preferences, like, do you prefer phone, IM, or text? And just here's my personality,
Yeah.
to help you know how to work with me. How did you? So for me, that was my jam. Like I'd kind of discovered personality tests a couple years before that, and I was really kind of they helped me not just find myself, which isn't to me the goal, but leverage my strengths,
Mhm.
fight my weaknesses, or learn how to
Right.
adapt. Also, like one of my since I'm an ENFP, it's the campaigner, it's the whoa person in the room kind of. And one of the things I remember it teaching me is be sure to you know, I don't know how it said it, but shut up now and then to to bring forth, the other people in the room and
Mhm.
what they have to say. So I loved that stuff about them. Do you have any feelings about personality tests in the
Sure.
workplace? And
Uh, so I participated, obviously, and I was an INFJ, and I'm like, okay, that tracks. I think that, there had been a couple people who were surprised to learn that I was an introvert. And I'm like, well, I only actually extrovert for money. So I, I'm happiest at home on my couch with my books. So, there's that. But
that's going
I
to be
felt like,
maybe I'll make that the title of this episode. I only extrovert for money.
there you go. Um, I when I was completing my manual, like, because we did the user manual based on I prefer this, I like that, or whatever. Um, I didn't feel as strongly about mine because when I was filling it out, I'm like, I mean, I guess I prefer an email to a phone call, but I'm also a grown person, so just do what you got to do in the moment.
Same.
Like, I didn't feel like people were mishandling me or anything like that. I mean, I took the time to read everyone else's and I would try to have that in my mind. But also work is an exchange transaction and we're there to do a job. And so, if I'm being polite and doing the best I can to follow your preferences, that should be good enough. And I felt like it always was. So that's always good. But when I filled mine out, I was kind of like, I mean, I like what we do. I like our work. You get a hold of me however you need to. Right.
I'm so with you. Sometimes I even have trouble taking those tests because of the difference between nature and nurture. I'll be like, well, I don't know what I prefer, but I am to be a good citizen of the world. You can freaking call me or I am me and I will answer. Yeah,
Right.
So
right.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean there, but
I think they are really helpful in, n how do I wanna say this? If your personality is INFJ, that means that you're an INFJ everywhere, right? You're an INFJ at home, you're an INFJ at work, so I felt like they were helpful, not necessarily in communicating with other people or maybe managing my work style, like I need to work on this or I'm good at that or whatever. I didn't feel that way about it as much as I felt like it was good for helping me to manage my expectations and my energy more
yeah.
along that line. Like, okay, well, the reason why that's rubbing you the wrong way is because of who you are as a person and not them, kind of thing. And just
Oh,
using
yeah.
it that way to really temper myself, maybe.
Okay, so let's get to the transition because
Sure.
we've only talked about the good. It was a great place to work and
Was.
it suited you well because of the um compliance niche. So, what happened? When was the first glimmer
Mhm.
that maybe it was going to be time to go?
I found something that I liked more, right? So, being able to be a member of that, the university's kind of investigation team and things like that, I really liked it. It still had such a huge compliance element to it, right? All I'm trying to decide is there a policy violation? How do we support people? Things like that. So it was very still very compliance focused, and, so finding that and liking it and having the support of that existing team to be able to do those things when the university called on me, I'm like, "I think I wanna do that." And I was pretty open about it. I said, "Hey, I'm enjoying this more." Like, I enjoyed it so much more that when I was assigned, to work on that role, like, the university would have need and you would get assigned to a role, um, my other work got easier.
Oh, wow.
So I found myself being more efficient over here and, a able to respond better and maybe even in some ways quicker because this other work I liked that much more. So that was kind of an eye-opening moment where I'm like, um, yeah, this is gonna be busy, it's gonna be hard because I'm filling this other, HR-based role, or it's not necessarily HR-based. We have, people on this team across the university. Um, but my other work got easier. And so that was kind of the first, like, "Oh, you're kind of a better person when you enjoy your work life more or whatever." So
That is amazing. I love that story. There's a book called Designing Your Work Life and they talk about, do they call it redesign? That when which you weren't unhappy, but if things don't feel quite right at work, there are so many ways that you can adjust it that might not mean leaving. And
mhm,
one of them is to get involved in different committees or
right.
something else at work where you might discover something you like a little better that's still supporting the same organization, but
Right.
it's in a different way using different strengths. That's a really cool that's a really cool part of that story. You found something you liked more. I
Yeah.
love that. Oh, let's see.
Now
W
work is work. It's not all puppies and kittens and rainbows. So there were
What?
things that happened that weren't huge things. They weren't, big blow ups at work or anything like that. But there were times when something would happen and I would feel my reaction. And I hope that I didn't react too much, in a professional setting, but I would say, I might not be the best person to keep doing this role, right? Because there
So
were
that
things.
was the old job that you're talking about.
Yeah, where
Mhm.
I was just like, I mean,
You were reacting too strongly,
yeah,
maybe?
I reacted in ways that didn't seem to align with how I had typically felt about my work. And so I tried to be really honest about those things and say to my direct supervisor, I think we need to start thinking about how we plan a transition. And, I think I'm wanting to do something else. And, I was really open with those things, as was she. She was really supportive. And what does that look like? And how long can we have? And what do we want to do? So when I made the ultimate decision, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do this work anymore. And it's not fair to camp out in this role that other people would want and would be good at and would be, you know what I mean? Like, I felt strongly about that. We had such good people on that team that it
Yeah.
didn't feel right to camp out in a role that I didn't want when I was fully equipped to go find a different role that I did want. And
Okay.
so,
Let's talk about that feeling where you were kind of overreacting or reacting differently than you used to. That kind of sounds like classic burnout, like a symptom of burnout. But I'm wondering if it's really interesting that you said finding this work that you liked more actually made you like this work too better because it made you more efficient more. But then do you think there came a point where the tension was pulling you away? Because is
um,
that what that
I don't know. It's hard to say if that was a result of the work because I happen to believe, and I think I had said this to you once before, that wherever you go, there you are, right?
Yes, you did say that to me, Carrie Gaines.
So, I really worked hard on myself when I kind of realized there's this other thing I want to do. I don't feel as good at this work anymore. I feel like, there's something else that I want more. And so I started working on myself. Like, what would a different work life look like? What would decentering your career look like? What would all of those things look like and feel like? And how do you start doing them today so that you don't take whatever it is that you don't want to take with you into your next role or your next opportunity or, whatever. I think a lot of times people they think that maybe work is broken. But if they pause and look at their reactions to work, it's the same reaction that they have in their home life. It's the same reaction that they have in their, you know what I mean? And but somehow these reactions or experiences that you're having at work are work's fault, even though you're experiencing them everywhere else in your life. At least that was the realization for me. I didn't
That's
feel
really
like
good.
I didn't feel like work was broken. I didn't feel like I was broken either, but I'm like, you know what? I might be, the common denominator in these feelings that I have.
I have to ask at this point, but it's off track, so we got to come back to this section. But have you ever been in work that you felt was broken? That the work was broken, the environment, the whole quote unquote toxic work environment situation? Do you even believe in that?
I don't know. I don't know if I have. And I mean, certainly in every work role, there are days where the work is toxic, right? I mean, I think about some of the things that we handle in our jobs, or even that we handled within the sponsor programs department, where we had tremendous amount of conflict that was generated outside of our department, but because of the nature of our role, we had to handle it, right?
Mm,
So I, I think that sometimes in my experiences, toxic work environments have been more situational, not
yeah,
necessarily the whole job and everything else is broken. But I also don't feel like work owes me anything other than a paycheck.
nothing but a paycheck.
It's an exchange transaction.
Yeah, but you wouldn't do anything for money.
No, I wouldn't do anything for money, but that's my choice.
Yeah, interesting. That's
I
the
mean,
kind of stuff we have to talk about
yeah.
more.
I
It's like,
mean, it was half-hearted joking, but also a little bit not. Earlier this week in my current role, somebody was talking about something and they had been working through some pivot tables and I'm like, if I have to work on a pivot table this week, I quit. Like, just tell me now and I'll get my stuff gathered up. And ha 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 ha. But I mean, I'm not opposed to learning more and doing better with pivot tables. When I had left my previous role, I'm like, I'm never going to work in Excel again. And now I work in a dynamic Excel
oh
model
my
that
gosh.
requires, two screens and all of this kind of stuff. And it's fantastic because it's work worth doing. But we all have a choice to make. Am I willing to do this in exchange for the amount of money they're going to pay me to do it?
Yeah, Carrie, I was in an Excel document yesterday where it said to me, "Do you want to make this a table?" And I was like, "It is a table. What are you talking about? I don't
First of all,
understand."
stop talking to me like that. Second of all, yeah, yeah, Excel. I mean, and I work with an Excel wizard, so I learn a lot. And I worked with an Excel wizard before, so it's a good tool and all that stuff. But
Who was our Excel wizard? Initials,
for
I guess.
me, MJ.
Oh, of course. Yeah, MJ.
Oh, now
Hi,
that you say
MJ.
it like
Shout
that.
out.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Um, Toxic work environments. What was the question burning in my head? Oh, so do you just call total BS on um people wanting better PTO? I need better work-life balance. I need you to tell me I don't have to check my email at 5 p.m. What people would call work culture improvements. I mean, do you just say, Psh,
Well, I think there are roles that have those things.
there are
But
roles?
yeah, I think there are jobs that have the PTO you're looking for or have the work cultures that you're
Ah,
looking for. I think that you can go and get those
yeah.
jobs, but not every I think that and again, this is my opinion and does not reflect the opinion of anyone else in the world. So let the record stand there. I don't think work owes us that much. I don't
Or
think
anything except a paycheck.
I think it owes us a paycheck. I think we have the right to be safe. I think we have the right to, work in a non-harassing and non-discriminatory environment and things like that. But at the end of the day, a current leader, says it's a job, not a life sentence. I mean,
Mhm.
if this isn't your jam, that's okay. Nobody expects for it to be. So, but I would challenge people. First of all, let me say this. I think that there are truly toxic work environments.
'Kay.
I believe that. I think that there are, tyrants among us, right? No matter where you're at or whatever. And those people are tough to deal with. But when you say, no emails after 5 or whatever that culture is, I'm I'm not sure how many people are going around saying we expect you to be tethered to this thing, right? But we sometimes internalize those things.
Yeah.
Maybe we're reformed people pleasers. And we can tell that
Or
if we're not going to
unreformed.
be trying to be reformed, I think that sometimes we look at that and say, they expect me, right? It's not unspoken, it's not a part of my work contract or whatever, but I feel like they expect me to be available to them. And how disappointing would it be if I wasn't? And so we're trying really hard not to disappoint these people who have never spoken that you need to be available after a certain, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But we've inferred these expectations a lot of times because of who we are. So I don't know. I think that f- my opinion is that a lot of times the things that we experience as burnout or toxic work culture or whatever, we experience in every other aspect of our life. But for some reason, we expect work to be the place that it isn't that way. We expect
Yeah.
work to be the place where we're not a people pleaser, right? I'm in control of my own time, right? So sometimes and again, I'm not talking about abusive work situations or anything
Absolutely.
like that, but I'm just talking about the general work should be better. Why should it be better? Who should it
Why
be
should it
better
be
for?
better?
And who should it
It's
be better for? Because if it's better for you, it might not be better for me.
yeah. Tell me if this rings true. It feels like kind of what you're saying. A couple jobs ago, I I was talking to a friend who at work who was saying, the boss said this to the person or demanded this of the person. That's not fair. They can't do that. And it's like it clicked for me that I actually I don't have a strong sense of justice, quote unquote, because I was thinking, sure he can. He's the boss. He can say and do
Right.
whatever he
Right.
wants.
Yes.
And the point is just, are you going to allow now it's on you to
Yes.
react. Do you allow it? Do you stay and let him be the boss in that way that he wants to be the boss, or do you not? It's just we all have our choices. What you
I
can do,
believe that.
what you
I
can't.
believe we all have our choices. I think that that is a very accurate way to summarize it.
Okay.
And I don't have a strong sense of justice for myself. Like, I don't feel terribly wronged
Right.
walking through life or walking through my work day or whatever. Do feel a strong sense of justice for other people. I do maybe get a little ired or irked or my ire up when I feel like somebody else is being wronged. But for myself,
Interesting.
I'm like, I'll do it or I won't, or, whatever. So,
Oh, we're gonna have to get to your current job with
okay.
that related to that justice
Mhm.
thing because we haven't really described your new job yet. But I want to ask a couple other questions about leaving. We talked about this sort of in our pre-interview chat that we had. Um, you said something about how the old workplace that you've left now did not. Let's see if I say this right. completely fix me if I don't. It didn't demand overwork, but it was really conducive to it. You said something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, yeah. I think so. I think well, first of all, I think you said, you had indicated before that you felt like you were reaching while you were there, right?
Uh-huh.
So I think a lot of times people, especially people who were maybe teachers' pets, high achieving in school, things like that, in those types of environments where everyone around you is really, really good at what they do too, it's that whole, what is it? Iron sharpens iron or whatever it is that they say or whatever. And so, um, it didn't demand it. There wasn't somebody going, "Well, we expect you to do this and that and this and that." But I think if you're a people pleaser, you don't wanna let these people down who you know are working just as hard as you
Mhm.
are, right?
Harder.
So yeah,
Mine were working harder than me.
right,
Yeah. When they
right, and
worked
I think it
Easter.
ebbs and flows, that kind of thing. So I think that I never felt pressure to overperform by any of my leaders, but I certainly didn't want to disappoint anyone either, right? And that's a self thing. That's not a,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's kind of a little bit bizarre that we kind of want to hold leaders accountable for how we feel about the work that we deliver to them. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
do.
I think about some of my past leaders. If they knew that I had been overworking or maybe overperforming to please them, they'd been like, you should go home now, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
And is that is that one of the things when you say you kind of began to work on yourself
mhm.
and imagine this different decentering? Oh god, that was such a great phrase.
It's
Decentering.
stolen. I think that that's what all of the life coaches talk about now, so don't I probably learned it
It's
off of
stolen.
Instagram, so
Everything's
don't
stolen.
credit it to
Everything's
me.
stolen.
It's not an
Okay,
original thought.
decentering work life. So would you say, that's really interesting. You felt you needed to decenter work life and you were trying to imagine that and thought it might be easier to do in this different role?
No, I didn't think it
No.
was gonna be easier. I wanted it done before I went to a different role.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, good. Okay, that's a
Whether
good
I had left or stayed or anything, this change was gonna happen because of me,
beautiful.
because of what I needed and what I wanted moving forward.
Okay, I have to get to more questions about that. Because I've got like I've got you segmented out here with backstory, today, and then philosophy because you say so many things that are really like philosophical, and I want to get to those, some of those. But I want to ask one more question about leaving. As
Mhm,
you've said, this was such high caliber people, leadership track. So the person who was heading that department when I
mhm.
started, such a lovely person, one of the most professional, kindest people. GS. She when I met her, um, the first, day on the job or whatever, somehow she discovered I liked Anne of Green Gables. And she said, I love Anne of Green Gables. And I'm like, what now? It was just so surprising to see that in someone so professional and kind of so high up in that. She is now the freaking president, yes, of the Missouri campus for this entire medical school. That's the track that these people are on, sort of. I mean, that it
Right.
can go to that. And you were there, you were on that track. Did you feel any kind of judgment externally or uh i- internally, any kind
No,
of about
definitely
leaving that
internally.
track?
I think
Okay.
definitely internally. Before my title was director and I managed people and I managed processes and my work intersected heavily with other service departments at the university. I worked with tons of really great people. Um, but it's like any other change that we make and how many times in our life do we think what's everybody else going to say when I'm like, yeah, I'm looking for an individual contributor role where I do
I
my
know.
work. Yeah, and but what I found, I think, since I've been in my new role for a few years now, is that you have just as many opportunities to be impactful, to be supportive, to help take care of people, all of the things that you associate with being in a leadership role, or at least that I
Mm.
associated with being in a leadership role. Um, most of those opportunities, most of those things that I found gratifying are still available to me. And I didn't want to do that work anymore. And there were people who did. So
Yeah.
sitting in that seat just for the sake of saying that I sit in that seat didn't feel right.
Did you have any this is the last question on this, on leaving. Once you left, you're there in that new thing. Did you have any surprising down moments where you did miss the title from before or anything like that?
No, I never missed
Good.
the title. I miss the people. I miss the people all the
Miss the
time
people.
still, you know?
Yeah.
They're really good. They're really great at what they do. And so many of them keep moving into progressive leadership roles, so you get to see and cheer for these folks that you know are deserving. Um, so no, I
That's
didn't
great.
didn't miss the no. Mm-mm.
That's gotta be a big part of the internal work you do because, uh, I've heard several stories now with different people, and often what you think is gonna happen, what you think you're gonna do, you are a little thrown because you feel things you didn't expect to feel. So it sounds like you were pretty
Now, I
accurate.
will say that when I've seen other friends and colleagues advancing and moving up, and I'm like, I could do something like that. And then I'm like, you can. Now the question becomes, is that something you really want to do? And then I'm come to my senses and I'm like, oh no, wait, never mind. What was I thinking for that whole 4.5 seconds? So, I think that there's still that tiny, maybe tiniest little bit.
Cool.
But then when I reconcile it against the life that I have and the
Mhm.
role that I have and the opportunities that are still available to me, I'm like, no, no, I'm good here. And I feel good about that. So
One of my little quotes that I flip to occasionally, and sometimes I'll keep it for a long time, is "You are choosing this."
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love it's just no matter where I am, I'm choosing it. I am choosing it because we have so many choices. We have choices.
We
Okay.
in our household and call it these are the problems we chose to have.
Oh, this is the life we chose. That's what I say when I sweep up dog hair,
Yeah, well,
blonde
I mean,
dog
it's
hair on my dark wood
sometimes
floor.
when you're experiencing, friction or problems or whatever, whether it's in your personal life, your work life, or whatever, it's like, hold on. These are the exact problems that I signed up for, and I wouldn't trade the other half to avoid this. So we're gonna have to deal. So we say that a lot around here.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so you've kind of said compliance, you've said investigation. Just sum it up. What is it that you do now,
Sure.
Carrie?
So I am an HR specialist, and I split my time between two distinct HR roles. One is compensation administration, and one is like university investigations and compliance and things like that as it relates to a few specific policies. So, and then any, other duties as assigned. So,
Which one has the spreadsheets?
compensation administration,
Compensation, what did you call it? Modules? What's the thing that you do that
a
yeah, the
giant
compensation
Excel.
model, right?
Yeah, a model. Yeah.
So you actually figure out what a position is should be paid?
Sure. Yep. So
Okay.
I spend a lot of time reviewing the job description and using our compensation model to determine what type of pay grade, what type of pay range. It's a whole process, right? So the university has a really robust process for doing this, but essentially, just making sure that we have positions leveled appropriately. One of the things that I find myself doing that I didn't realize I would do from when I sat in the other seat was how much time and effort that team puts into trying to understand what it is that the supervisors are trying to communicate in a job description.
Oh.
Because, what they're saying and what they're needing, there can be some gaps between that and getting together with those folks and helping, that's part of my job that I really do enjoy is just saying, "This is where I think it is, talk to me," or coming back and asking additional questions, "If this, then this," or, that type of thing, and making sure we get things as close to right as we can. I try to do it on the first try, but sometimes we have to, have a couple back and forths. But it's really good work and it's how do I say this? It's like part of the scaffolding that these teams are going to have to work on. So I feel like it has to be really solid. So that's that's the meaningful work that I can do for them, right?
Yeah. The investigation side is
Mm,
what you were doing extracurricular, so to speak, right?
right. Mhm.
Did that other part have to come with it? Were you like cool with the compensation model part too, or because I
Yeah,
just
I was good with
okay,
all of it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us. I want you to say the sentence I heard you say at lunch that day that I just love so much about what you like about this job. If you
Oh,
can,
yeah. I feel this way about all of I think I know what you're gonna say, is that when I'm working, on behalf of the investigative arm of the university, and I don't do that full time, and, they have a really great process for, covering all of those things, but I'm always comforted by the fact that no matter what I'm working on in HR, I'm not trying to determine if somebody is a good person or a bad person, only if there's a potential policy violation, and so it really helps me to just kind of lean back a little bit
mm,
and just work through our policies and our me working through policies and procedures, it's the best part of my day. So, um, I like what we do for people. I like what it means that the university is so invested in their fair processes and procedures and all of that kind of thing. So I think it's really interesting, what people need from their HR team and things like that, and how we can give it to them in a way that's meaningful. So,
that is one of the sentences. The other one you haven't said yet, but I think I can get you there, which is, so do you make a lot of decisions?
oh, I know what you're saying. Yeah. So, and I'm not sure if I'll say exactly what you're expecting me to say, but my role now is as an individual contributor is to make sure that the decision makers have all the best, most accurate information that they need, and then I hand it to
Yes,
them.
that's the sentence.
Yeah, and
I
so
just
I
I just
really
love how you say that. You're like, "Here you go."
yeah, here you go. So I think that one of, the things that I like the most about my work is like I said, I take a lot of information and kind of boil it down and get it to just the facts, and I like that I'm good and quick at that. So the people who do need to make hard decisions, right?
Yeah,
There are lots of decisions that are being made every day, and I like being able to put that information together in a way that they immediately know if they have more questions, right? They can pick that information up and say, "Oh, I'm also gonna need this." Okay, great. Because I don't want anyone if I've handed them something that they're gonna be using to make decisions or to communicate with somebody else, I don't want them to ever be second guessing themselves or flipping through pages or whatever. So, I do like
yeah.
just, "Here you go, decision
Here's
makers."
the facts,
Yep.
the information that I have
Mhm.
found. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so we've made this really clear that your compliance is your niche, really. The niche you
Mhm.
found and you like it. It really suits you. I can tell you that if you told me in high school, you would like a job in compliance, I would not know where to begin. Like, what should a person do in college, for instance, if they have that same kind of bent?
So, I have a bachelor's of science in business administration, and I have a master's in public health. Um, but I think the thing that compliance work lends itself to, or the skills or the interests that lend themselves to compliance work is, can you synthesize a lot of information? Do you enjoy logic? So much of it is just so logical. If this, then that, right? Or don't
Yeah.
pass go, or that type of thing. And just being able to take in the information. I think that what people miss a lot in compliance is that and maybe this is a different way to say it, is, um, I wanna be able to take the rules or the information or the policy and make it operational.
Mm,
I
yeah.
understand all of this to mean this based on this policy or this rule or this information or whatever, or this piece of compliance, and this is how we have 2 ways we can make it work here. Right? We know it won't work 998 ways, but there's 2 ways that it will work. And that's the part of it I like figuring out is how to operationalize a solution based on compliance or policy. I just don't want anybody to ever get in trouble. So,
Mm, When I around the time I was preparing to leave that department, you weren't talking about leaving at that time, but you were talking about policy a lot. You were having had a lot of interest in. You actually thought you might want to write policy.
mhm.
Do you still have that interest?
Yeah, yeah, and I
Yeah.
do. I get to work on some of the HR related policies
Okay.
from time to time and, at the assignments as they're made to me, that type of thing. So, and I like reconciling guidance with our policies. I mean, you find the gaps and you figure out how you're going to make fill those gaps in a way that's relevant to your institution. Because at least from my experience in my previous role, there were no rewards or extra points for being over compliant, right? That's just where you create more administrative burden and all of that kind of stuff. So kind of figuring out where that line is that serves the purpose, protects the institution, but still is can be operationalized. It's the lamest topic ever, but I really enjoy it.
I know,
And I know it takes
I
all
love it
time.
about you.
So
I do love that you love your job, that you like your job. Um, okay, I'm getting to philosophy now because I
Mhm.
wanna hear you talk about this, because that was so poignant the way you said, "Oh, no, I wanted it done." I wanted that internal work where I decentralize work done before I went to the next thing. So you place high value on internal work over external changes. And
Yes.
that is what the conversation we had. I I had a new planner in that I'd gotten in the mail. I had gotten the same design for years and I had a brand new design this year. And you said, "What made you do that?" And I said, "Because I want to change everything." And you said, "Yeah, but when you change everything, you're still there." That's when
Yeah.
you said that to me. And it was so true. But also, I have found in my own life, I mean, internal work is all you got. You can't change you
Anybody
can't
else?
change yeah, you can't change anyone else. You can't change systems very easily or at all. So internal work is all you got. I internal work constantly at work. But I still find that sometimes external choices help aid the internal choices I'm trying to make. But I'm not sure that you think at all that you need those external and yet you did, you made a change.
Yeah, I did.
So
But I knew
just what
what
would you say?
so first of all, I'm one magic notebook away from completely running this world. So I totally understand the planner vibe. I mean, I am like, I love getting a new one. I've done all of them, bullet journals, everything else. But I think that environment matters, obviously. Doing work
Okay.
that you enjoy matters, obviously. But I don't think it matters as much as how you manage your reactions to your environment or to the people around you or whatever the case may be because it will always be that way. You will never have control over the people around you. Like you said, systems, I mean, you got to buy houses, you got to pay rent, you got to do all of these things. Um but how you manage your reactions to them. Now, I do believe that we can make our environments easier, to do the things that we want to do, but I do think that we still have responsibility for managing that environment. I don't believe that I mean, I sound like I'm in HR or something, but I just don't believe that I believe that work needs to be safe. I think it needs to be secure. I think that people need to be compensated fairly for the jobs that they do, all of those things. But I just don't think that hacking the work environment is going to make as many people happy as they think it will. I kind of have this idea that we have a tendency to focus on things that are external of us in order to be happy or to achieve what we want to achieve or whatever. We're like, well, if they would do this, it would these types of things. And you see it play out all the time. Anything but address your responsibility in the role or claim your power in the situation or whatever the case may be. So I think that there's less, I think we all have less control over the external hacking of anything than we do our own selves. So
Our own selves.
yeah, that's where
Yeah.
all of the power and control is. It's not going to be, I mean, we've raised kids. You can't make anybody do anything. We
Yeah.
know
Oh,
this. We
oh,
know
that's
this.
true.
If you can't make the people who live with you act the way they should, why do you think you're going to be able to make the people that you work with act the way? I mean, I think that a lot.
Yeah. But then I think I'm quicker than you to say, since I can't change them and I've done everything I can to change myself, I'm going to go. I'm going to try a different place and see if there is better chemistry. And it sounds like you would be real slow to ever think that an external switch
Mhm.
is going to fix anything.
I don't think it will. I mean, I think it will fix some things. I just don't think it'll fix the things that matter the most to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's a what I was going to ask the typical question that I ask everyone. I'm hoping it leads to something you said to me. But if I asked you, what is something about your work that matters?
Mhm.
What would you say?
Well, I don't remember what I said to you, to be honest, but I know that what matters to me is that I do work that's worth doing. I mean, I really
Yeah.
do believe in the university's mission. I believe in its vision. I think that a lot of people are working really hard towards that, and that if you choose to be, an employee there and stay there, that we all have a role that we can play. And so I just like that the work that I do supports the people who are doing other things that are important. It's like the brick work, just brick by brick.
Mm.
If people will do their part in their role, I think the people are great. What did I say before? Who knows?
Well, what you said is something about people deriving meaning from their work. What did you say? What did you tell me
Oh,
about that?
okay. Yeah, yeah.
Because I
Well, I
just
think that
thought that was really smart.
I feel like so often that people feel like work is going to give them meaning,
Hmm.
right? Or that their
Or
work
they
is
need
going
it
to
to.
be, or they need it to, or that the work itself is going to be meaningful. And I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt that there's nothing inherently meaningful about an Excel model that I work in, right? But recognizing that the work that I'm going to do is going to impact other people, and that I have an opportunity to try to do put the best foot forward, to not be tired or anxious or lazy in those job descriptions. I treat all of them exactly the same. I mean, I have got stacks of paper around me and I'm trying to figure it out, and I'm asking questions because it means something to me, and that's good enough, right? So, at the end of the day, I've done the best that I can, and that it means something to me. So I feel like
Yeah.
you have to bring the meaning to the work,
Bring the meaning. Oh, that's good.
because work itself, I mean, a lot of the things that we do or the tasks that we do don't there's just nothing inherently meaningful about numbers unless you make them that way. Does that make sense? You have to make it
Absolutely.
you bring the meaning to the work.
You bring the meaning. I just really love that phrase. Maybe that will be your title. Could have so many ideas here. So in one of my earlier episodes, I talked about this time management expert person, Laura Vanderkam. She has tons of kids, jobs, blah blah blah, and she writes about time management. And she specifically did the math and showed me, not personally, that we actually do have more waking hours in the week that are not work than we do work. And I flat out didn't believe her and did the math myself because I didn't believe her. I'm like, no, we don't. I work my whole life. I work most of my life. It's all of my life. Um, and my and I did the math and she was right. And so then I'm like, okay, why am I not feeling it? How do you feel it? Because I know that you do. Life is bigger to you than work.
Yeah, yeah. So first of all, like I said, I feel like my work is meaningful, so that is helpful, right? I bring the
Good.
meaning to the work. I enjoy it. I don't dread it. I mean, there are times where I'm like, "Oh, I can't believe I put that off and now it's waiting for me," right? But that's a me problem. That's a
Yeah.
choice that I made. Sadly, here I am, that kind of thing. Look, it's the consequences of my actions, kind of thing. But I really spend a lot of time on my hobbies. I like to read. We bought a sailboat. we go skiing, we go scuba diving. We do things. I think that the things that you do outside of work are just as important as the things that you do in work. I think that they feed each other. I mean, obviously, I'm engaging in an exchange transaction with my employer so I can have the money to go do the things that are my life. And I think that stuff restores me and makes me, an even better at my work. I know some people talk about, the Sunday night blues or the Sunday. All the time I'm like, "Oh, I wish every weekend was a 3-day weekend," but not because I'm dreading going back to work, but because I enjoy what I'm doing away
Yeah.
from work. And I think that those are 2 entirely different things, and you can't focus if you find your work to be draining, then why are you focusing on it all the time? You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't you disengage from that and get your brain right before you go back?
What do you think the word compartmentalize? Do you compartmentalize your work self and your personal self, or does it feel pretty fluid?
Feels pretty fluid for me most of the time.
That's what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah, I don't dread it. I don't, obviously there are things there's some things that nobody likes to do about their job or whatever. And there are definitely days when it's like it should be a crime to go to work when the weather's like this, kind of thing. Um, but I do feel that it's pretty fluid for me.
Yeah, I think I feel like I have a problem in this area. I feel like I bring the same me but my worlds feel so different. Like when I get to work and they say, "How was your weekend?" I don't even want to tell them because I'm like, that's my, like, you don't care. That's not my, that's not
I
what
would
we
like
do
to have a
here.
more cheering environment that I work in. Also, I'm not telling them anything.
Yeah, I feel, and one time I remember, in a workplace that felt very restrictive and very, very professional, but yeah.
Mhm.
And someone started talking about a TV show like that everyone was watching. And I was just like thrown. Like, I don't know how this conversation doesn't make sense in this room. It was
Interesting.
it's like you're pretending to have a personal life because you really do. That's what it felt like. It was so strange.
I
I
don't
don't
think
know
you
what
have
I'm
to
doing
take
wrong.
your whole self to work every time you go, right? I don't think you have to take your whole self to work. I mean,
Ooh. Okay. Okay. Helpful.
yeah, but I do think, not everyone needs to know everything that's going on in your life at all times. Now, I'm probably complaining about everything in my personal life to everyone, but not that I have a lot to complain about. But I don't think you have to take your whole self to work. But I do think you need to take and maybe it's, being, old school or whatever, but you do need to be on your best behavior.
Totally.
You need to be kind to people, you know.
Be on
If
your
somebody
best.
says hello to you, you should say hello back. I had a colleague today who could see that I was head down and, I was there early and I was working through some things that I obligations that I needed to meet and knocked on the door and said, "Can I get you a cup of coffee?" And I said, "I would love a cup of coffee." Right? They didn't
That is
need
the
to know.
universe paying it forward, Carrie Gaines, because you brought me coffee more than once.
Well, it's just one of those things where it's like I don't think you have to take everything about yourself to work to still reap the benefits of having good connections at work or to be a good connector at work.
Yeah, and I really love what you said about when you found that the investigative committee is what I'm gonna call it, and you were really enjoying that you also enjoyed your work more. I feel like that's what I've been trying to do more in the last several years in my life. If this is not clear to all of my listeners, and Carrie's very aware of it, I've really never had a good relationship with my job. Pretty much never. And part of it is because I always feel so pulled to this other stuff, this creative writing, blah, blah, blah stuff. And I wanted it to be the whole me. And so I was very kind of um, resistant to having to give me to the thing that gave me a paycheck. Where am I going with this? Oh, so what I'm trying to do lately is what you're saying, focus on those things I love. Put my energy in that. Like this podcast is so fun for me. I get to
Right.
talk about the things I wanted to talk to you about all the time anyway. And and so I'm hoping and I'm kind of feeling that it should do what that investigative committee did for you, that it really will make me kind of a better person in this other side too, because getting I'm focusing on my strengths. And anyway, that's the hope. Okay. Be a good person, be a good citizen reminds me that I want to ask you, what did you tell your kids or model for them about work? And
Um,
did they follow it?
they did not. So I think we told our kids, number one, that, um, we always told them, do your job. Don't make people remind you to do your job. Just, be proactive, do your stuff. And I think they saw, people who had centered work a lot. I mean, John and I both worked a lot, and both of our kids were like, "Nah, not me. That's not. I don't want to be answering emails. I don't want to be doing those things." They were not interested in that, and they don't do those things. So they chose different things than what we did, and they don't seem any worse for wear on it. So
Do you feel like they got your message about the internal work?
oh, I don't know about that. I mean, I think they're both good people and they know what they want and they're okay with that. I think that, and maybe you've observed the same thing in your kids. I mean, kids were way less apologetic. They're kind of like, no, thank you. That's not for me. These are the things that I want to do or whatever. I think, and maybe this is just the mom in me. I think they have a little less of the people pleasing
Yeah.
gene than I did. I think that they are more their own people, which is ultimately what you would want for people. And
If
I
you
think that they do view work as an exchange transaction more than I did.
but you do believe that it is one, so
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I do.
So you're a people pleaser, so have you not hit that midlife thing that I feel in my face all the time of, am I living the life I want, or did I get here because I was people pleasing all the way?
Mm.
have you not really hit that even with work or anything?
Um, I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I
You
know
don't
that I'm a
question
people
your
pleaser.
choices were your own. You really feel that you own your
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I
I
love
do
that.
I do feel like I made my choices, and I would say that I made at least 85% of my choices with my eyes wide open. So,
Okay, I this is where I get to ask this question and see where you want to take it, if anywhere, but I find you a deeply settled person.
hmm.
You're very thoughtful, intentional. You have a very intentional approach to life. You don't seem to have
I told a
a lot of
colleague yesterday that I felt like I had rabies, so I'm not sure that I'm always
wow. See,
settled.
okay, but what I was going to say is, where does that come from?
I
Is
think
it
everything will
natural
be
to you? Did you work
no.
for it? Is it a worldview?
I think that I am a generally anxious person most of the time, but I do think that everything's also gonna be okay. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a little nervous about it, but I know it's gonna work out in the end.
Is that from life experience,
Mhm.
or you've always had that
Um,
feeling that it's going to work
Probably
out?
more as I get older, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But I do think that everything's gonna work out. This has been a couple of years ago, and it was in my new role, and we were kinda fighting for our lives on it. I'm like, "It's gonna be a great day." And they said, "Do you believe that, or are you just saying that like an affirmation?" And I said, "We've not yet encountered anything that we couldn't handle." Right? I mean, we've handled it. I mean,
Yeah.
if the track record says, "Yep, you've handled 98% of the problems that's come your way over the last 3 years," then we're probably gonna handle I think there's a high probability we're gonna come out the other side of this one and be okay too. It might be uncomfortable for a little bit.
Do you see internet why I like talking to this person?
I think that it's just I think that as I got older and more mature professionally, um, that I became increasingly comfortable with discomfort. Like
Ugh.
like I told my colleague yesterday, I'm like, "I feel like I have rabies, and I'm just gonna go for a walk for a second to get my head cleared so I can get this thing done." Like, I think this is what rabies feels like. Later, I upgraded it to I'm like, "I think the rabies have passed, and I've got the heebie-jeebies, so think we're working through it," or whatever. But just knowing that, gosh, some days are just hard, and that's just it's It's that way for everyone. Like so many times we think we're experiencing something really special and unique to us, this anxiety or this problem or this workload or this whatever. And the truth of the matter is that everyone else is too. You just
Mm-hmm.
might be complaining about it more today or whatever, or it's hitting you different. But I just I really feel that way.
That's cool. We made it through before. We'll make it through again. Love it. Okay, let's wrap up with
Yeah.
it worked for me. This is where I want you to give us something big or small. It worked for you once, like an aha moment, or it regularly works for you to find or feel more meaning in life.
Let me think about that for just 1 second. Hmm. I think just recognizing that it's going to be okay. Whatever the problem is, we've been most of the time, most of the problems we have, and I think it's true, the lesson will be repeated until it's learned. But most problems that we see aren't new, but we treat them like they are, right? We treat them like they are. We get anxious or we get upset or we get worried or whatever. And most of the problems that we encounter in life or that we encounter at work, they're not new problems. They're certainly not new to the rest of the world, but they
Yeah,
feel awful new and we treat them like we've never seen this problem before when the reality is we had the exact same problem 2 weeks ago. So, how did we answer it then? What do we need to change this time? So, I think just maybe just recognizing that most of the time we've done this before and we've always been okay. Everything's going to be fine, kind of thing. So, it
love
works
it.
for me.
It works for me. That's what I'm saying. That's what I wanted. Perfect. Um, I can't thank you enough for being on my podcast, especially when you said no so quickly the first time I asked. I knew you didn't mean it.
I have always enjoyed talking to you, and I'm super excited that you're moving forward with this. I think that, as I listen to your other podcast episodes and as people listen, just to everyone else in general, I think we're seeing that there's more in common than there isn't.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I think that's always comforting is that we all really have more in common than we think we do. So maybe we could just act like that.
Oh, brilliant. I so agree. I used to say, mm, as a writer, I was always kind of wondering what my voice was. They say, every writer has a voice. It's kind of the leader voice or the I'm in here with it. I'm in it with you, or I just got through it and now you can too. What was my voice? And I feel like I was constantly searching for the common denominators. It's like my whole thing. I'm always wanting to find the human common denominators. We can all agree on this. And unfortunately, there's nothing really that we all perfectly agree on. But I I love to find the things that in general were the same.
I think everyone's experiences are more closely aligned than not.
Yeah.
Whether we realize it or not, most of us are experiencing the same things, especially with people who are in the same stage of life. But I think a lot of discontent comes from thinking, and I hate to say it like this, um, we think we're special. We think our suffering is unique, or we think that our situation, woe is me. Look at this
Yeah.
work life that I have. And everyone around you is like, oh, hey, I have the same one, kind of.
Yeah.
So
I did used to like I'd be driving the kids to school, just looking in the other cars like, do the other parents look as upset about this day as me? Like, are they stressing about work like I am, or is everyone just fine? Like, let's just go. Let's just go to work. It's fine. I think if you keep listening to my podcast, I was just assuming that you would, but let's say you do, you should keep a list of things I say that you're like, no, no. I have
I
another,
object.
I have an objection to that. Keep a list so I can have you back and we can talk about more things where we see it just like a little different, but then we'll find the sameness too.
You should do a group podcast at some point where
With,
people who have the exact opposite philosophies get to debate each other with you as the moderator.
oh boy. I actually, yeah, I'm wondering. So far, no one has said anything that I'm just like wildly disagreed with or something. I'm wondering how a podcast moderator handles that if that happens. Oh, interesting. Let's move on. I don't know.
No more.
I don't know. I was hoping to get to practice that with you more, but you're far too easy to converse with, Carrie. I really appreciate you. Thank you for being here, and I really do hope that you'll come back.
Thank you.